Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about tendonitis, connective tissue pain, all that stuff, and the problems with trying to fix it once you have it. Because I had a couple of people ask me in the Q&A thread already, which I opened yesterday. There are already multiple questions with people asking about their tendonitis. And one guy is already saying, look, I was doing a bunch of high rep leg presses for a long time after 5x5 squats. And yeah, I've developed tendonitis in my patellar tendons. And another guy was talking about elbow tendonitis. Here's the problem, guys. Once you develop tendonitis, neither I or any other YouTuber is going to be able to help you with it. You are going to have to hire a specialist to help you, and there's a good chance it's never going to go away. In other words, once you start to develop tendonitis, there's a reasonable chance you're going to have to deal with it the rest of your life. That's it. And there's one of the things that you need to remember. When we see a lot of people out there who we get training advice from, you look at them, if you see the guys who seem to need sleeves and wraps all the time, all right, the guys who need sleeves and wraps all the time and they're only in their 30s, that's the guys you should not be getting advice from. You shouldn't be training the way that they train. These are people who have developed tendonitis and inflammation and everything else in multiple joints at this point. And what I would ask most of you, are you sure you really want to take advice from those people? All right, it doesn't matter how good they look, because how good they look could be a product of genetics, diet, and drug use, not necessarily their exercise selection in the gym. Furthermore, even if exercise selection in the gym could make you look 2% better than something else, but it leave you sore and hurting for the next 20 years, is it worth it? I mean, is it really worth it just to have that extra little edge on your triceps when you happen to be under 10% body fat if your elbows are going to hurt for the next 20 years? All right, that's something that people need to think about. And that's one of the things I've noticed historically, is that bodybuilding training and machine training tend to contribute to this. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily the hammer strength machines, because hammer strength machines, while I'm not a big fan, they don't lock people into unnatural positions. But do you want to know what does? Smith machines and a lot of other machines. Any machine that locks you into a straight line of any type, any machine that locks you into a straight line, a fixed plane of motion in a line, this already puts you into a position that's not natural for your body. And any exercise that loads the body in a way that's not natural for your skeletal structure, certain types of tricep extensions come to mind. This contributes. And that's one of the ones I point out all the time. The number one cause of elbow tendonitis I've seen as far as the tricep insertions go is tricep extensions done the way a lot of bodybuilders recommend. Laying down, bringing the weight up to your face. And again, it's the way that you load the tendon and force the tendon to rub across the elbow under load. That's the problem, right? There's a reason I do tricep extensions the way that I do them when I have bothered to do them, when I do them on camera. There's a reason I do them that way, and I also don't get elbow tendonitis. Putting your body into unnatural movement patterns tends to irritate connective tissue at times. It can irritate joints and cause problems with joints, but it irritates connective tissue. And when you start to think about it, if there's any movement pattern that you can't do with a normal free weight motion, odds are it is not a pattern that your skeletal muscular structure is designed to deal with correctly. And it's one thing to have one-off odd uses of them, but it's another thing when you're coming in and doing it repetitively for months or years on end, every single week. And that could be true of all sorts of various isolation movements and then some compound movements on a machine. Machines are oftentimes developed to create movement patterns that do not exist. And to do them on occasion probably is fine, but if you are continually doing large volumes on machines that lock you into abnormal patterns, you're doing large amounts of isolation movements over and over and over that irritate the connective tissue, this over time contributes to this problem. And big, heavy barbell movements are less likely to give you tendonitis. Any normal movement pattern, and a normal movement pattern is going to be perfect examples, squats, deadlifts, bench presses, dips, chin-ups, overhead pressing, rows. right? These things are normal movement patterns for the body that we can just pick up objects and do, or grab ourselves and pull against things. Now, some of these can cause certain joint problems at times. There are risks that way. But as far as connective tissue goes, these are normal movement patterns. Our body handles these loading patterns very well as far as our tendons are concerned. It doesn't put our tendons into weird compromised positions. When you step away from this and you go into a lot of isolation movements, this is the case. We can put those tendons in positions to where they rub against bones the wrong way. Things like that. And like I said, the human body's pretty resilient. It can handle something like that occasionally. It can handle you coming in and doing 2 or 3 sets on some of these exercises every now and then. But when you're making a weekly thing of it, and you're doing it over and over and over, that's the reason you see so many guys involved in the whole bodybuilding game and the physique game who do way too much isolation work. That's why you see so much tendonitis. That's why you see so many of them who need wraps and bands and everything else. And I'm not saying that doesn't occur in the strength training world, because it does to some extent, depending upon how a person trains. It depends on how a person trains. Yeah, you do start to see that when strength athletes train in a similar manner and do too much of that also. You do see tendonitis and stuff start to set in. And a lot of it also comes down to overuse. You don't see tendonitis from moderate volume with very, very heavy weight on big movements. You do start to see it when people do extreme amounts of volume. All right, perfect example, the guy I just gave a minute ago used to do a bunch of high rep leg presses after doing 5x5 squats. Now, done correctly and using good form, squats won't hurt your knees. And doing 5 sets of 5, it's only 25 working reps in a workout, which is going to be a moderate amount of volume. That is a fair amount of volume. But when you start adding a bunch of high rep leg presses to it, now we're getting to the point to where you are potentially overusing connective tissue. And that's exactly what this guy found. He's got inflammation now of his patellar tendons by his knees. All right. That's not good. And here's the situation. A lot of guys say, well, I'm going to train this way. But then your heroes, the guys you see who have been training this way 10 or 15 years, are all busted up and wrapped up. Why do you think that is? Too many unnatural movement patterns, too much volume, way too much volume. And that's the thing, as we get older, and this is something a lot of coaches have noted over the years, not people who work with just the elderly who are personal trainers, but coaches have noted over the years, the older you get, the more you will hurt from doing high volume. All right, lifting heavy within your capacity as we get older is actually easier to recover from than doing very large amounts of volume. And as you start to age, if you continue to do all of this really, really high volume, high rep training, and you, even worse, you continue to do excessive amounts of these isolation movements, tendonitis tends to develop. It tends to develop, and you see it a lot. Go look at older populations in the gym and start asking and seeing who has what that hurts and what they need to wrap. You're going to find some common patterns, and it's not hard to figure out what those patterns are. You have to watch your volume as you get older. You have to be careful of your exercise selection and not do exercises that cause inflammation of your tendons. And here's the problem. A lot of us get older and train the wrong way for too many years, and then as we get older it starts to become too late because that inflammation has set in, those problems have set in, and by then it's already too late. So here's the thing to the younger guys: just start thinking about this stuff now when you're 20, so that when you're 32 you won't have to worry about these problems, and you will be able to continue to train and have quality of life and be pain-free. Because let me let you younger kids in on a secret. I turned 41 in 2 weeks, and I can tell you right now that time is going to pass a lot faster than you think it will. You're thinking, well, I'm just going to train really hard for 3 years. I'm not worried about 10 years down the road. I'm not worried about it. But let me let you know that 10 years is going to pass a lot quicker than you think it will. And then when you get another 10 years down the road and now you start having stuff that hurts, and you realize, oh man, I'm 32, I'm 33, and this hurts. I've got another 30 or 40 years of life left. I'm not even halfway through my life, and I've already got stuff that hurts. So now you reach a point to where the majority of your life, over half of your life, you're going to have crap that hurts because you didn't pay attention to little basic advice like this of not doing too many stupid isolation and machine movements and to keep your volume in check. That sucks. Because that means for most of you out there, because you are going to live to be past 60, you're going to be in pain for the over half of your life as a result of those silly choices. So think that through. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.